Good Yontef, everyone. Shana Tova. As we begin this most intense day of introspection, considering the meaning of forgiveness, both asking for and receiving forgiveness, we would do well to consider the fate of Lot's wife. Lot, you know, Abraham's nephew who lived in the city of Sodom. You know the story about Sodom and Gomorrah. As they were about to be destroyed for their unrelenting iniquity, Lot, his wife, and their family were urged to leave by the angels sent by God to carry out this mission. They're told to flee the city and never look back. But as you know, Lot's wife can't help herself. She turns to look and is immediately transformed into a pillar of salt. A legend, of course, but an important lesson on this day. Lot's wife's inability to let go of the past freezes her in place. And not just frozen into anything, but frozen into salt, which was used in the ancient world as a preservative. Salt keeps things from changing. So Lot's wife became a symbol of what happens when we can't let go of the past. We become frozen in place, frozen in a past and unable to move forward. I pray that our reflections over the course of this day keep us from getting stuck in the past, that they help us to move forward, looking towards where we are going, a land of promise and blessing. We continue with the lighting of the festival lights on page 9 as we invite Alan and Jill Chosen to join us.
Baruch atah Adonai.
Oops, hang on. Not on. There we go. Now it's on. Okay.
Baruch atah Adonai. Notea b'tochenu chaye olam.
Amen. You'll be good.
Nope.
Try another one. Yeah, try another one. Yes, sure. No problem. You got it. Okay.
It's so that it is.
All right, go ahead. We'll go. It's this way. There's a wind tunnel like right here.
There it is. Go ahead and write these other ones with that same. Careful of your fingers.
Here. Okay.
Yep. Success.
Okay, here we go. Gonna read? There you go.
The human spirit is the lamp of God, searching out what lies within us.
Guided by the flame of conscience,
on this sacred night, we search for truth.
Shine your light upon us as we strive to serve you. May we find safety in your faithful love.
We light the flame of healing and forgiveness. On this atonement night, we give thanks for love.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu להדליק נר של יום הכיפורים. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם.
Turn to page 14. Ask you to please rise. There we go. Yom Kippur, the Jewish people's festival of the soul, and Kol Nidre, its sacred portal. A night of deep emotions, a night, as the psalmist wrote, to rejoice with trembling. We rejoice at the sound of Kol Nidre, rhythmic words of release from vows, oaths, and promises to God we fail to keep. We tremble at the melody, music of spiritual amazement. It fills us with awe as we stand before God and Torah.
We rejoice that we stand together, strengthened by community in this hour of shared weakness and humility. We tremble, for tonight we confess our flaws, admit our imperfection, and acknowledge a power far beyond our understanding. We rejoice that we commit ourselves to great endeavors because we feel so deeply and think so nobly.
We tremble, for we find that our ideals are far greater than our ability. Our promises surpass our might. We rejoice in the freedom that is Kol Nidre's true gift, the freedom to begin a new year without fear of failure, to aspire to be God's image in the world. We tremble because we are mortal. We rejoice in our gratitude for life.
We rejoice with trembling and enter Kol Nidre
to face our humanity.
Please be seated.
At this moment of sacred memory, we call upon some of the guardians of our community, our past and current presidents, to ascend to the bema as we turn to page 16. And as the ark is opened and our holy scrolls are removed, we ask you all to please rise.
I think I have to try to get that one up there. I'm not sure I can find it. Oh, man. Scroll this stage. On page 18. way to begin a day of forgiveness. We begin by admitting that the next year won't be perfect. So we begin by first forgiving ourselves for the ways we won't meet the vows we make during this day. We begin with the acknowledgement that as hard as we will try, it may not be enough. Kol Nidre protects us from ourselves by granting us the gift of sacred uncertainty, the chance to begin this new year with a sense of what we do not know, rather than a narrow certainty about what we do. I will make vows, I will do my best, but I will not be derailed if those vows go unfulfilled. I will use my missteps as an opportunity for self-reflection and growth. I will aim high, but I will not feel ashamed if I don't quite make it. What if every time I were ready to proclaim some self-evident truth, I allowed Kol Nidre to whisper in my ear, "Says who?" Continue on page 20. Thanks, Roy. Thank you. Continuing on page 22 with the Baruch Hu. Please be seated.
It's my honor to invite all of our kids and grown-ups who used to be kids who have earned a golden kippah. If you'll walk around the backside and meet me on the outside hallway there, we're going to invite you up to the bima in just a moment to lead us in Ve'ahavta.
And we continue now on page 26 by giving thanks for the gift of Torah with Ahavat Olam.
Ahavat olam with everlasting
Page 28, we rise for the Shema. Please be seated. Continue with the Ve'ahavta on page 30. Thanks, guys. Author, poet, teacher, and activist Grace Paley wrote this remembrance of her childhood. I lived in a world so dense with Jews that I thought we were the great imposing majority, and kindness had to be extended to others because, as my mother said, everyone wants to live like a person. In school, I met my friend Adele, who together with her mother and father were not Jewish. Despite this, they often seemed to be in a good mood. There was the janitor in charge of Kol, and my father, unusually smart, spoke Italian to him. They talked about Italian literature because the janitor was equally smart. Down the hill under the southern boulevard L, families lived, people in lovely shades of light and darkest brown. My mother and sister explained that they were treated unkindly. They had, in fact, been slaves in another part of the country in another time. Like us, I said. Like us, my father said, year after year at Seder's, when he told the story in a rush of Hebrew, stopping occasionally to respect my grandmother's pained face, or to raise his wine glass to please the grown-ups. In this way, I began to understand in my own time and place that we had been slaves in Egypt and brought out of bondage for some reason. One of the reasons clearly was to tell the story again and again, that we had been strangers and slaves in Egypt and therefore knew what we were talking about when we cried out against pain and oppression. In fact, we were obligated by our knowledge to do so. As we remember our obligation to free all those enslaved, we turn to those words by which we give thanks for our freedom. Mi chamocha on page 40.
Malchutecha ra'uva כהים לפני משה ומרים, זה אלי ענו ואמרו. ונאמר, כי פדה אדוני את יעקב, וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו. ברוך אתה אדוני, גאל ישראל.
Please join with me in the reading on the top of page 43. When fears multiply and danger threatens, when sickness comes, when death confronts us, it is God's blessing of shalom that sustains us and upholds us, lightening our burden, dispelling our worry, restoring our strength, renewing our hope, reviving us. On page 46, we rise for the tefillah. Let's read together on the bottom of page 50. Your life-giving power is forever, Adonai, with us in life and in death. You liberate and save, cause dew to descend, and with mercy abundant, lovingly nurture all life. From life to death, you are the force that flows without end. You support the falling, heal the sick, free the imprisoned and confined. You are faithful even to those who rest in the dust. Power beyond power, from whom salvation springs. Sovereign over life and death, who is like you? Merciful God, who compares with you? With tender compassion, you remember all creatures for life. Faithful and true, worthy of our trust, you sustain our immortal yearnings. In you we place our undying hopes. Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayeh HaKol. Wellspring of blessing, power eternal, you are the one who gives and renews all life.
Amen.
Please be seated. We'll continue on page 54. page 60. You chose us with love to be messengers of mitzvot, and through us you made known your aspirations. Among all the many peoples, you gave us a pathway to holiness. Among all the great nations, you uplifted us and made yourself our sovereign. And so we seek you and serve you and celebrate our nearness to your presence. Your great and sacred name has become our calling. Page 64.
There are 3 amens on this page. The word amen comes from the Hebrew word emunah, which means to have faith, to believe. And when we say amen, we're agreeing to the blessing that came before you. And our choir has been doing such a lovely job of the High Holy Day amens that help us know, no matter where we are in the world, if we walked into a synagogue, we would hear that motif that would let us know we're in this particular sacred time. So we want you to sing those amens with us for this prayer, and then invite you to sing them with us anytime the choir is singing those amens. Even if you don't know the rest of the words to the prayers, you can participate wholly through that one word, amen. I have faith, I believe, I trust in that. So the amens go like this. Amen.
Amen.
Now you try it.
Amen.
Good. Now we're going to do it with the prayer. Asking God to remember us, be mindful of us, and redeem us. Zochreinu Adonai Eloheinu bo l'tova.
Amen.
Ufogdinu vo livracha.
Amen.
V'hoshiinu vo l'chaim.
On page 67. Out of the depths I call you. Hear me in this darkness as I cry for mercy. I long for your word. I wait for your forgiveness. You offer love. You free me from my sins. I yearn for your light, more eager than watchers for the morning. Help me to know your peace. Continue together on the next page. God, who is ours, and God of our fathers and mothers, lead us to holiness through your mitzvot. And may each of us find a portion of Torah that is ours. You bestow such goodness. Teach us to be satisfied and to know the joy of your salvation. Continue on page 74.
שאתה הוא אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו ואימותינו לעולם ועד. מודים אנחנו לך צור חיינו מגן ישנו
For the sun that rises in the east, for the seas that roar a prayer,
for the stillness of the snowfall,
For the crust within my fingers, for a mind that makes me whole.
The voice that God has given me to speak the truth within my soul.
Modim, anachulach. Modim, anachulach. Modim, anachulach. For the laughter of the children, for the way they greet the day.
With their endless stream of questions, they remind us how to play.
And for the ones we call beloved, who would take away our fear.
They tell us without saying it, remember I am here.
Remember I am here.
As we turn to our prayer for peace on page 78, Shalom Rav, let's just take a moment to invite peace and wholeness into our own hearts and wish for peace and wholeness for the people sitting next to you, for everyone in this holy congregation, and for all beings that live on this earth. Shalom Rav, may we experience great, lasting, and fulfilling peace and wholeness in this new year.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. כי אתה הוא מלך אדום לכל השלום. כי אתה הוא מלך אדום לכל השלום. וטוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. בספר חיים ברכה ושלום. ברכה ושלום ופרנסה טובה. ברכה ושלום ניזכר וניכתב לפניך. אנחנו וכל עמך בית ישראל. לחיים טובים ושלום. ברוך אתה אדוני עושה
I invite you to continue silently now with the words on the next two pages, on pages 80 and 81, or with your own tefillat halev, with the prayers and meditations of your own hearts. Page 82. We turn to the Vidui, confession. I ask that you please rise. Seated. Continue on page 86. Join together. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, the ways we have wronged you deliberately and by mistake, and harm we have caused in your world through the words of our mouths. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, the ways we have wronged you by hardening our hearts, and harm we have caused in your world through careless speech. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, the ways we have wronged you through lies and deceit, and harm we have caused in your world through gossip and rumor. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, the ways we have wronged you by judging others unfairly, and harm we have caused in your world through disrespect to parents and teachers. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, the ways we have wronged you through insincere apologies, and harm we have caused in your world by mistreating a friend or neighbor. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, the ways we have wronged you through violence and abuse, and harm we have caused in your world through dishonesty in business. Continue on page 88. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, the ways we have wronged you openly and secretly, and harm we have caused in your world by losing self-control. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, the ways we have wronged you through sexual immorality, and harm we have caused in your world through consumption of food and drink. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, the ways we have wronged you by giving in to our hostile impulses, and harm we have caused in your world through greed and exploitation. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, the ways we have wronged you through cynicism and scorn, and harm we have caused in your world through arrogant behavior. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, the ways we have wronged you by hating without cause, and harm we have caused in your world through offensive speech. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, the ways we have wronged you with a slanderous tongue, and harm we have caused in your world through a selfish or petty spirit. Page 98. Adonai, Adonai, God, compassionate, gracious, endlessly patient, loving, and true, showing mercy to the 1,000th generation, forgiving evil, defiance, and wrongdoing, granting pardon. Continue on page 102. On this night, especially when our thoughts are of our own healing, our own wholeness, the journey we make during this day, we pause to offer a prayer of healing for those we are holding in our hearts, those suffering illness of body or mind or spirit, that they might find the full and complete healing they seek. Before we join together in the words that you'll find in the inside of the booklet that you have with you, I would invite you, if you would like, to call out the names of those you are holding in your heart this evening.
Sandy Levy, Rabbi Morley Feinstein.
Avoid in you, Abraham.
Page 106. On page 114, we turn to Avinu Malkeinu. Ask that you please rise as we approach the ark.
Avinu Malkeinu, Shema Kolenu. Avinu Malkeinu, Chatanu lefanecha. Avinu Malkeinu.
Please be seated. On the 8th of Elul, just 3 weeks before Rosh Hashanah, and 4 days after Jews around the world had heard on the previous Shabbat a Torah portion which said, Tzedek, tzedek tirdof, justice, justice shall you pursue. In 1963, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. stood before 250,000 people at the foot of the Lincoln Memorial and spoke about the urgent need to pursue justice. I sat with my dad in our living room, watching on our little black and white television as Dr. King delivered his I Have a Dream speech. And a seed was planted on that day that would blossom into my life's chosen path, the one that has me standing before all of you this evening. Even as a young boy, I sensed an urgency in that moment. Not unlike the urgency I feel, and I would wager many of you feel in this moment. It's hard to recall a time when I felt more anxious, worried, and just plain bewildered by what is going on in our world. As I wrestled with what to share with you about all of that this evening, I decided to Google urgency of now, just to see what others were feeling and saying about this disquieting moment we find ourselves in. And quite unexpectedly, my Google search led me not to a discussion of this moment, but back to 1963. Unbeknownst to me, in his words to those that packed the National Mall on that late August afternoon, Dr. King also spoke of the urgency of the moment. He said, "We have come to this hallowed spot to remind America of the fierce urgency of now." As I listened again to Dr. King's speech, I was struck by how, if you remove the particular references he makes to his African American community, he could well have been speaking about this moment. I find myself in this hallowed spot, at this hallowed time, feeling the great urgency of now. Dr. King spoke to his followers of a sweltering summer of legitimate discontent. And it certainly has been that. Certainly a sweltering summer for our planet. Climate change and global warming are wreaking havoc on our home. We have been much less than faithful stewards of God's creation. And I am reminded of an environmental warning found in a rabbinic legend from over 2,000 years ago. In it, God says to Adam and Eve, "Take care of this world, because if you destroy it, you won't get another." And it has been a sweltering summer emotionally and spiritually as well. We have mourned the violent and unnecessary loss of 126 innocent lives, the result of 26 mass shootings in 18 states between Memorial Day and Labor Day. And it's hard for me not to believe that the constant drumbeat of anger and fear and suspicion is not in some measure responsible for creating an environment conducive to these terrible and tragic acts. We would do well to keep in mind the story of creation, our story of creation, in which God is depicted as creating the world through words. This story contains a vital and cautionary lesson about the power of language. Words can both create and destroy. Words can both cause deep wounds and foster profound healing. There is nothing more false than words can never hurt me. Does anybody really believe that? I therefore find no solace in excusing hateful and hurtful words with, "Oh, you know how she is. It's just words. She really doesn't mean it." My friends, there is no such thing as "they're just words." No such thing. We create worlds with our words. And therefore, like the one in whose image we are created, we must choose thoughtfully and carefully about what world it is that we wish to create. I cannot hear the degrading and dehumanizing labels that are casually thrown about and not hear echoes of words about us. Pharaoh's words about us, depicting us as some kind of insects rising up from the ground. "They are much too numerous for us," says Pharaoh. "Let us deal shrewdly with them, lest they, like insects, rise up from the ground, join our enemies, and fight against us." Or later, the dehumanizing words of Balak, King Balak, describing us, the Jewish refugees on his border, as hordes of beasts that hides the earth from view. So numerous it will lick clean all that is about us as an ox licks up the grass of the field. As ones who have endured the cruelty of slavery, as ones who have suffered over and over again at the hands of murderers, for no other reason than that we were seen as non-human aliens, our Jewish ears must be attuned to language of intolerance and hate. Can there be any doubt but that our own community is feeling the reverberations of such words? To the fanatical right, we are non-white, illegitimate, power-mongering, disloyal fifth column out to displace the legitimate white rulers of this nation. And to the fanatical left, we are conversely symbols of a white power elite out to oppress people of color. And anti-Semitic acts have increased to unprecedented levels in our country, leading every Jewish community, including our own, as you all experienced tonight, to reevaluate and increase measures to protect themselves. Civil discussions and debates of legitimate differences have been supplanted by accusations, labels, and name-calling. The quest to find a middle ground has been replaced with backing into separate corners in anger and fear, surrounding ourselves in an echo chamber of like-minded voices. And as our common places are vacated, I fear our democracy is slowly grinding to a stop. Where is our Dr. King? Where is our Dr. King? Where are the urgent voices challenging us to become better, urging us to overcome our fears, to bridge our differences, to come together in common cause? What are you going to do about it? Asked Nessa, a 95-year-old survivor of the Warsaw Ghetto. The United States used to be magic, she says, and now it reminds me of 1938. According to one of Nessa's friends, she isn't worried about herself. She's worried for us, her friend says. Worried for everyone with plugged ears and averted eyes. What are you going to do about it? She asks with more urgency. She deserves an answer, her friend says, from all of us. Nessa is asking the third of Hillel's questions. You will recall on Rosh Hashanah, we dug into the first two. Imein ani li mili, if I am not for myself, who am I? Uchsha'ani la'atzmi ma'ani, but if I am only for myself, what am I? And these are vital questions which I hope have been a part of your mindset over these past days. Well, today on Yom Kippur, we are confronted with Hillel's third and most urgent question. V'im lo achshav ematai. If not now, when? If not now, when? Hillel's urgent question provides the context for this entire day. From our fasting to dramatically dressing in a kittel, a traditional Jewish burial shroud, to the prayers we pray and the texts we study, we are urged to take advantage of this moment as we might not get another chance. There is nothing subtle about Yom Kippur. Tomorrow morning, Moses will remind us, Atem nitzavim kulchem lifnei Adonai Elohechem. All of you stand here today before God. I have placed before you this day life and death, blessing and curse. Uvacharta b'chayim. Choose life, that you and your children might live. And Isaiah will sternly warn us that coming here to pray, repent, and reflect is utterly of no use. Utterly of no use. Unless we are compelled by what we do here to go out there and do something about it. Is this the fast I desire? He inquires of us, and then continues, here is the fast I desire. One that compels you to break the bonds of injustice and remove the heavy yoke, to let the oppressed go free and release all those enslaved, to share your bread with the hungry and provide housing for the homeless. On that August afternoon, Dr. King echoed Isaiah's sentiment. This is not the time, he said, to engage in the luxury of cooling off. Now is the time to make real the promises of democracy. Now is the time to make justice a reality for all of God's children. Reflecting on his march with Dr. King, Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel famously said, I felt as if my feet were praying. We too are urgently called upon to pray with our feet and with our hands. Our task together, to quote Dr. King, is to hew out of the mountain of despair a stone of hope. The fierce urgency of this moment calls upon us to speak up, to speak out, and to take action, to heal the wounds in our community and our nation, to turn away from words and actions that drive us apart and deepen those wounds, and instead turn towards words and actions that promote understanding and healing. Our task is to never stop until the world feels safe again. So this year, here at University Synagogue, we are committed to an initiative we're calling Doing Jewish Together. In order to do just that, to bring some healing to this world, to our world. You will hear some significant parts of that initiative tomorrow from our co-president, Fern Topasalka. But tonight I want to highlight other ways we are addressing and will continue to address the fierce urgency of now by building a strong community of protectors and supporters for our community. If you brought food for Sova in the St. Joseph Center food pantry, you've already responded to Isaiah's call to feed the hungry. And if you haven't participated yet, I hope you will tomorrow. Wouldn't it be amazing if 100% of our community participated by helping to feed those in need in our community? Better yet, why not bring a can of food every time you come here? Those cans are out there every single day. And hunger doesn't just happen at the high holy days. Isaiah also reminds us of our obligation to provide housing for the homeless. Our Tikkun Olam committee answers Isaiah's call through initiatives focused on providing support to the homeless, including working on initiatives with the St. Joseph Center and partnering with the Los Angeles County in the annual homeless count that helps the city to allocate resources to the homeless in our community. Our sisterhood works with our religious school in providing 60 meals a month for the people of concern, formerly OPCC, as well as providing a holiday party in December and a makeover party in the spring. We participate in Big Sunday, providing opportunities to join with others in projects that improve lives and build community, and we hope to hold our own mitzvah day as well. Our recent Big Sunday partnership with the Ismaili Muslim community built important bridges between our two communities and gave us the sacred opportunity to support the Flournoy Elementary School in South Los Angeles, packing hundreds of grocery bags, repainting murals, gardening, creating a mosaic, providing privacy screening to exterior fences, and furnishing a teacher's lounge. And our Early Childhood Learning Center will be accepting car seats and books on behalf of the Violence Intervention Center, a first responder for children who are victims of abuse and sexual assault in our community. And this is not nearly an exhaustive list. We are involved in so many efforts to lift up the prophetic call to help, to heal, to feed, to clothe, and to house. But we could do more. We could do more. We could have an even bigger impact. We just need every one of you. So I hope you'll contact us and let us know how you want to be involved in helping to meet the urgent, fierce urgency of now. As I sat with my dad in front of our television that Wednesday afternoon in 1963, there was one sentence in particular that has taken up permanent residence in my heart. "I have a dream," Dr. King said, "that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character." Those words evoke within me an image of that metaphoric promised land that has been a source of hope and inspiration for us, for the Jewish people, from the very beginning of our journey. In the face of the urgent needs of our time, it is these words that continue to inspire me and provide me with hope. I pray that the dreams of prophets from Isaiah to Martin will inspire us as we face the great urgency of this moment. May we be reminded that our faith in God, in whose image we are made, and our belief in each other has helped us to overcome. Im ein ani li mili, if I am not for myself, who am I? May your self-reflection on this day help you to remember and strengthen your connection to the divine image within. Uchsha'ani la'atzmi ma'ani. But if I'm only for myself, what am I? And from that place of the divine image within, may you find inspiration and a renewed sense of purpose. V'im lo achshav, ematai. Because if not now, when? Shana Tova.
Gamar Tov. I'm Jen Harmon, co-president of University Synagogue. As we explained during Rosh Hashanah, this is our year to really get to know each other in a deeper way. Getting to see all of you at services, pillar events, Shabbat barbecues, and around the hallways have given me the tremendous opportunity to immerse myself in the University Synagogue community. My glasses probably would help, huh? If you haven't yet signed up to sponsor or participate in a Connect Us meal and conversation that was described on Rosh Hashanah morning, please take the opportunity to do that when you leave here today or tomorrow. Tomorrow morning, you will also get a chance to hear about our second synagogue-wide initiative, Doing Jewish Together, and I hope many of you will plan to begin that effort by joining us in one of our breakout sessions during our non-lunch break tomorrow, as well as join us in our many meaningful projects during the year. I also invite you to say hello to those of us on the Bima as you leave services today and tomorrow. We'd love to hear where your Jewish journey began, and we will share ours as well. Sitting on my immediate left is my co-president, Fern Topasalka, and her husband, Joe Eben. My better half, Mitch Viner. Congregants Howard and Cami Gordon. Rabbi Lutz, Cantor Shapiro, cantorial intern Zevi Berman, congregant Ann Koppelson, congregants Doug and Carol Rawson, congregants Alan and Jill Chosen. I wish everyone an easy and meaningful fast. Shana Tova.
I invite you to turn in your prayer books to page 116 and rise as we join together in the Aleinu.
La te
night concludes with memory, our last thoughts always are of those we have lost. We miss them especially tonight, yearning for their presence at our side. The service we have shared once was theirs. They spoke and sang the ancient words. They prayed, repented, and yearned for better lives, as we have done. Flawed in their deeds, imperfect in their faith, they still drew strength from their tradition as we seek fortitude in ours. What was good and beautiful in their lives once gave us joy and now inspires us to reach higher. The knowledge that they loved us deeply brings comfort to our hearts. So we light candles of remembrance and gratitude, and we speak this timeless truth. Zichronam livracha. Their memory is a blessing now and forever. We pray that their goodness will live on in our lives, planting seeds of kindness and hope for generations to come. Continue with the Kaddish on page 122. Yitzkadal, Yitzkadash, Shemei Rabbah, Ve'alma divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, V'chayechon uvyomechon, Uv'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael, Ba'agala u'vizman kari v'imru, Amen. Yehei Shemei Rabbah mavorach la'olam ul'almei almaya, Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnasei, v'yitadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shemei d'kudsha rechu. Le'ela u'le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru, Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru, Amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav, huya aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru, Amen. May the source of peace bring comfort to all who mourn and solace to all the bereaved among us. And we say, Amen. Amen. Please be seated. Turn to page 127. Just a few final reminders before we make our way from the sanctuary. Tomorrow morning at 8:30, our service for families with young children, and our services will continue here, of course, tomorrow morning at 10:30. We hope that you will join us as well for our not lunch break and hear more about our Doing Jewish Together initiatives for this coming year. Our afternoon service begins at 2:30, and we hope you will join us for afternoon and Yizkor, and of course, Ne'ilah as well. But that is not the end of the high holidays, oh no. Sukkot. You know, after you've done all this hard work, we need to celebrate a little bit, don't you think? So we hope you'll join us for Sukkot on this Sunday afternoon. There are programs for families beginning at 3 o'clock and a brief Sukkot service and tacos. I shouldn't say that today. Sorry. So join us for Sukkot and help us to celebrate all that we have thought about and done and reflected on, and the wonderful community that we have here as well. And finally, L'Shana Tova. V'techatemu, may you be sealed and inscribed for a good year. We say, Gemar Chatima Tova. Really? We're leaving.
For us. Do it.